Good afternoon, I'm Melissa Negrini and this is your breaking news update. We begin with developments in the Middle East. In keeping with his reputation as America's most transparent head of state, President Donald Trump, in a post on Truth Social, provided an update on negotiations with Iran. He noted that Iran informed the US that they are in a state of collapse and want to open the Strait of Hormuz as soon as possible, amidst their attempt to stabilize their leadership crisis.
And we're doing a little Middle East work right now, too, if you might know. And we're doing very well. We have militarily defeated that particular opponent, and we're never going to let that opponent ever, Charles agrees with me, even more than I do, we're never going to let that opponent have a nuclear weapon. They know that, and they've known it right now very powerfully.
Iran has, however, reported that the new Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei, whom no one has seen since America's offensive against Iran started, has met with Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian. The update is still to be verified, but statements claim that he is recovering from serious injuries sustained in the strikes that killed his father and kept out of sight for security reasons. Saudi Arabia hosted an emergency meeting of the Gulf Cooperation Council in Jeddah on Tuesday, which marked the first in-person gathering of Gulf leaders since the start of the war between the US and Iran. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman chaired the meeting, with leaders from Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, and the UAE in attendance. The meeting was aimed at crafting a coordinated GCC response to the thousands of Iranian missile and drone attacks that targeted energy facilities, civilian infrastructure, and other sites across the Gulf. And ending nearly 60 years of membership, the United Arab Emirates has announced that it will withdraw from both OPEC and the OPEC Plus alliance, effective May 1st. The UAE's decision follows a review of its energy and production policy, reflecting its long-term strategic and economic vision and evolving energy profile. Some label this move as a strategic shift toward an independent production policy, citing that the UAE can now freely increase its oil production due to the Faraja pipeline, which bypasses the Strait of Hormuz. Russian President Vladimir Putin held a high-level meeting in the Kremlin on Tuesday, with discussions focused on preparations for the September 2026 State Duma elections, alongside regional and local votes. For the first time, these elections will include voters in the newly integrated regions of Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporozhye, and Kherson. President Putin warned against terrorist methods from Ukraine during the voting period, adding that security for candidates, election officials, observers, and voters is crucial ahead of the September elections. He called on the leadership personnel of all law enforcement agencies to fulfill their duties with the utmost responsibility.
The risk of terrorist threats is growing. International terrorist organizations, radical and extremist groups continue their subversive activities. Furthermore, we know that both the Kyiv regime and its patrons have resorted to openly terrorist methods. The reasons are obvious, clear to everyone. The enemy is unable to stop the advance of our troops along the line of contact, and is losing territory every day. Hence the reliance on terror against both military personnel and civilians. They hope this will change something. It won't change anything, but the threats are there, and they are growing, as I already said. Drone strikes against civilian infrastructure are becoming increasingly common. The latest example is the strikes on energy facilities in Tuaps, which could potentially have serious environmental consequences. However, the governor just reported that he's on the ground, or at least he was a couple of hours ago, and it seems there are no serious threats. People are dealing with the challenges they face on the ground. Security and counterterrorism issues are particularly important given the upcoming election campaign. As a reminder, in September, Russian citizens will elect deputies to the 9th State Duma, and large-scale campaigns will take place at the regional and local levels. Our priority is the safety of all election participants, candidates, election commission members and observers, and the tens of millions of people who will come to the polling stations. This primarily concerns the Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics, and the Zaporizhia and Kherson Oblasts. Their residents will be electing federal-level deputies for the first time, and those who deny Donbass and Novorossiya their historical right to be part of their homeland, part of Russia, will of course try to hinder them, as they have before. Let me remind you that in Ukraine elections aren't held under the pretext of martial law, but they're trying to hinder us too. But in these territories, in these regions, live strong, reliable people, people of character, as they say. I'm sure they won't be intimidated. This has happened more than once, and it will continue to happen. And the state, for its part, must do everything to protect their free choice, as well as the free choice of all our citizens throughout the Russian Federation.
Stay tuned to any of our Love World networks to stay updated with all the latest breaking news. And now we move right into more updates from around the globe. During her address to the European Parliament on Tuesday, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen defended the highly controversial €90 billion EU loan package for Ukraine. She referred to her previous comments insisting that the EU would push through the loan to Ukraine one way or the other, regardless of objections from member states. She announced that the first €45 billion tranche for 2026 would still be disbursed in the current quarter. According to the breakdown, roughly one-third is earmarked for Ukraine's general budgetary needs, while about two-thirds is allocated for defense and military support, effectively using European taxpayer-backed debt to prolong the conflict.
In spring, we have said that we would deliver on the €90 billion loan for Ukraine one way or the other. Now we made good on this promise. We will disburse the first tranche of €45 billion for 2026, still this quarter, one-third for budgetary needs and two-thirds go to Ukraine's defence. And the first defence package will be on drones from Ukraine to Ukraine, worth some €6 billion.
Next up, we'll be going for a short break. Stay with us as we bring you more updates from around the globe.
King's Conference online conferencing platform that allows you to have up to 1,000 users. All you need is an internet connection, and with our low data consumption, this is easier than ever. And a device, whether it's an iPhone, an Android, or you just have a laptop, you can join your King's Conference meeting. Jump on a call with friends and loved ones and use our emoji reaction to have the best time online. Take your work anywhere with King's Conference. Whether you're working from home, working in a coffee shop, or even on a beach or in the park, stay connected to all of your work meetings using King's Conference. Use our scheduling system to make sure you never miss a meeting again. You can invite other KingShot users to your meeting and they'll receive a notification in their inbox. Also, you have all of your meetings in one place with King's Conference. Whether it's a meeting you've been invited to or one that you've scheduled yourself, they're all listed out for you so you'll never miss a meeting again. Go to kingsconference.app and schedule your first meeting today. King's Conference. Stay connected.
On Tuesday, Serbian Foreign Minister Marko Đurić visited Jerusalem for the first Israel-Serbia strategic dialogue, together with his Israeli counterpart, Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar. During his address, Đurić emphasized that he wants Israel to know that in Serbia and Belgrade, Israel has true friends. The two countries confirmed that they are actively negotiating a free trade agreement, with a joint economic committee set to meet soon. Sa'ar also remarked that Israel is planning to open a permanent economic representation in Belgrade.
I'm very, very happy and delighted to have the opportunity to pay a visit to the State of Israel for the second time in my capacity as the Foreign Minister of Serbia. This reflects a deep relationship that exists between our two nations, and Serbia is proud of the fact that we were the first nation in 1917 to sign up to the Balfour Declaration and to recognize Israel's right to exist, and then we were among the first countries to recognize the independence of Israel, and we stood with each other in times good and bad. Serbs and Jews were always subject of same persecution or similar persecution by various totalitarian ideologies. And in an ever-changing world in which we are faced with unprecedented challenges, that in a single generation we have an equivalent to the invention of a printing press, the invention of, or the Industrial Revolution, meaning in our case the rise of artificial intelligence, and frankly speaking, practically a breakdown in the existing global order. Like-minded countries like Serbia and Israel have a national interest in advancing our relations. This is why I'm very proud that today we are launching a strategic dialogue between our countries, which is a result of a work of our teams over the past year. And today's discussions have been centered on a number of topics, including advancing our economic cooperation. As you mentioned, there will be an agreement, a free trade agreement, which will open widely the doors for Serbian and Israeli companies. We are grateful to Israel for participating in Expo 2027 in Belgrade, which is very important for us. And I believe that in many other spheres, our countries are beginning to stand shoulder to shoulder more and more. When I was planning my trip here, President Vučić told me that this is by far the most important task for me at the moment. And I believe that we were able today to accomplish the deepening of trust and deepening of cooperation to the benefit of both of our nations. So I thank you for that.
During the same joint press conference, Gideon Sa'ar addressed accusations made by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky regarding Israeli imports of grain that Ukraine alleges was stolen by Russia from occupied territories. Sa'ar dismissed the claims, stating that Israel does not conduct diplomacy via X, and emphasized that Ukraine had failed to provide any evidence to substantiate the allegations. His remarks came in response to a post on X by Zelensky, publicly accusing Israel of permitting the unloading of what he described as Russian-stolen Ukrainian grain.
Minister Sa'ar, the Ukrainian President Zelensky said on X some 3 hours ago that Israel is essentially purchasing stolen goods, given what he described as the docking of a Russian ship carrying wheat taken from occupied Ukraine. Fairly serious allegations in a very public forum. What is your response, please?
Clearly, we reject this kind of Twitter diplomacy. And now to the facts. The Director General of our ministry, spoke earlier today with the Israel Tax Authority, which has begun an examination of the matter. When you examine something, you check the facts. The vessel has not entered the port and has yet to submit its documents. It's not possible to verify the truth of the Ukrainian claims regarding the forgery of the bill of lading. Up until this point, the Ukrainian government has not submitted a request for legal assistance. They submitted tweets. This is required when the claims concern criminal acts committed abroad. Nor has the Ukrainian government provided evidence for its claims. Israel is a state that abides by the rule of law. Israeli authorities are obliged to act in accordance with the law. Legal discussions must be based on evidence. As I said, we reject Twitter diplomacy and we will not be influenced by that. We say again to our Ukrainian friends, if you have any evidence of theft, submit it through the appropriate channels. Last thing, it's a bit surprising coming from a country that we supported in international forums, supported in so many ways, including humanitarian help in so many ways, lately with energy generators last winter, but probably this is life. We will stick to our principles.
Tuesday marked a milestone for Bangladesh as the country began loading nuclear fuel into Unit 1 of the Rupa nuclear power plant, marking the start of its commission phase and a key step toward entering nuclear power generation. The 1,200 megawatt reactor is being built by Russia's Rosatom under a 2015 agreement. Officials from both countries attended the ceremony to mark the loading of 163 fuel assemblies. This step follows the regulatory approval granted in April by Bangladesh's Atomic Energy Authority. Unit 1 is expected to reach initial operational levels later in the year, with electricity supply to the grid targeted for mid to late 2026 and full commercial operation afterward. A second unit is planned for 2026.
What a historical day for Bangladesh and for Russia. Actually, the bondage started with Russia in 1971, when Russia supported our independence in 1971. Not only that, they helped to clean up the mess that left us Pakistani junta, military junta, and since then our bondage was very strong. Today, our bondage is reborn today through this nuclear plant. Your Excellencies and distinguished guests, our Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister Tariq Rahman Sheth, he has conveyed his heartfelt thanks and profound gratitude. His Excellency President Vladimir Putin, 5,000 plus Russians and almost 20,000 Bangladeshi people who has worked tirelessly, as I say, 24/7 for the last 8 years. Bangladesh is grateful to them, and we are so obliged. As we stand here today, 28th of April, I want to see you again. I want to see you again on 20th of April in 2027. I hope you'll be here with the same spirit, and you will put the fuel loading right here. So I expect this from you. I hope you will do this again for me. And let's bring our bondage more strong between Russia and Bangladesh, and we will keep it up for the future.
King Charles and Queen Camilla arrived in the United States on Monday for a 4-day state visit. The trip aims to strengthen the US-UK special relationship and coincides with preparations for America's 250th anniversary of independence. On Tuesday, the royals received a full state arrival ceremony on the White House South Lawn, with a 21-gun salute, military honors, and a troop inspection by President Donald Trump and the First Lady Melania Trump. In a historic diplomatic tradition, the President and the monarch exchanged gifts as symbol of goodwill, respect, and alliance. King Charles gifted President Trump with a framed, high-quality reproduction of the 1879 design plans for the Resolute desk in the Oval Office. The gift ties into deep historical US-UK ties, as the desk itself was made from the timbers of the British ship HMS Resolute and was gifted to President Rutherford B. Hayes by Queen Victoria in 1880 as a symbol of friendship.
In the centuries since we won our independence, Americans have had no closer friends than the British. We share that same root. We speak the same language. We hold the same values. And together our warriors have defended the same extraordinary civilization under twin banners of red, white, and blue. But beneath those beautiful flags, 8 decades ago, Prime Minister Winston Churchill and President Franklin Roosevelt famously met on a ship in the North Atlantic to outline a vision for the free world after World War II. That understanding of our nation's unique bond and role in history is the essence of our special relationship, and we hope it will always remain that way.
The British monarch also delivered an address to the US Congress on Tuesday, marking the second British royal to do so, after his late mother, Queen Elizabeth II. He emphasized that an enduring relationship between the US and the UK, while acknowledging periods of disagreement, stating that the two countries do not always agree, but have always found ways to come together. Charles described the 250-year history between the two nations as one of moving from rivalry to one of the greatest alliances in human history. In closing, he called on the US and the UK to rededicate themselves to each other in service to their peoples and the world.
King Charles III has become only the second British monarch to address a joint session of the United States Congress. Speaking in the House chamber on Tuesday, the King delivered a message of unity between the UK and the US on the 250th anniversary of American independence, amid strained relations over the Iran conflict. The British royal arrived in Washington on Monday, accompanied by Queen Camilla, landing at Joint Base Andrews. From there, they were driven straight to the White House for a private tea with President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump. Leading up to the congressional address, the royal couple started their second day in the States with a full state arrival ceremony on the South Lawn, complete with military honors and a 21-gun salute, followed by bilateral meetings. From there, the King headed to Capitol Hill for this historic address.
I would like, if I may, to take this opportunity to express my particular gratitude to you all for the great honor of addressing this joint meeting of Congress, and on behalf of the Queen and myself, to thank the American people for welcoming us to the United States to mark this semi-quincentennial year of the Declaration of Independence. Our destinies as nations have been interlinked. As Oscar Wilde said, we have really everything in common with America nowadays, except, of course, language.
Today's schedule includes a trip to New York City, where King Charles and Queen Camilla will visit the 9/11 Memorial. The royal couple wrap up their state visit in Virginia on Thursday, where King Charles will attend environmental events and community celebrations marking America's 250th anniversary. This is Jacqueline Pena reporting for the Love World Networks from Washington, D.C.
And now let's take a recap of today's headlines. President Trump reveals that Iran is in a state of collapse.
And we're doing a little Middle East work right now, too, if you might know. And we're doing very well. We have militarily defeated that particular opponent.
Serbia reaffirms friendship with Israel as strategic dialogue launches in Jerusalem.
I'm very, very happy and delighted to have the opportunity to pay a visit to the State of Israel for the second time in my capacity as the Foreign Minister of Serbia.
Israel condemns Ukraine's public accusations over alleged stolen Russian grain.
Legal discussions must be based on evidence. As I said, we reject Twitter diplomacy and we will not be influenced by that.
President Trump and King Charles mark historic ties with ceremonial state visit.
In the centuries since we won our independence, Americans have had no closer friends than the British.
And with that, we conclude today's updates from around the globe. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Melissa Negrini, reporting for LN24 International, where we bring you news that is truth, the pulse of trusted analysis. Have a beautiful afternoon further. Goodbye.